Good morning. My name is Maggie McCoy, and I work at the Missouri Botanical Garden for the EarthWays Center, which is the sustainability division of the garden. I'm making this video today because I was asked a couple questions about my job, kind of what it was like to get to this job, what my day looks like every day, kind of what education I got to get here. So I wanted to make a short video for you guys in order to send you that information. So, my job at the Missouri Botanical Garden is that I am the education and volunteer coordinator for EarthWays Center, which is the sustainability division. So that means basically that most of my work involves working with schools and teachers and students about issues of sustainability within their school. So that means helping students and teachers develop projects or find solutions to waste and recycling and compost issues, or helping them to manage stormwater by planting rain gardens or picking up trash in their area. Some of it's working with energy, where we help teachers and students kind of figure out how much energy their school is using, and then figure out ways for them to actually reduce the amount of energy they're using. So I work in a lot of issues across sustainability in schools, but most of it is helping students and teachers problem solve to figure out what they can do. The other part of my job is working with volunteers who help at a lot of our large events, helping to make sure that people get their recycling and composting and trash in the right place from our major events. So we call these our zero waste ambassadors. And these volunteers are great because they help us actually divert more than 90% of the waste that we create at events from the landfill. So that basically means that less than 10% of the things that we throw away at major events go to the trash. The rest of it goes to composting or recycling. So it's a really big effort of ours at the garden. Another small part of my work actually works with universities around the St. Louis area, so some into Illinois, and then all the way to places like Columbia, Missouri, and Rolla. But working with all these universities together to make sure that we're all sharing sustainability information. So that means that if one school has sort of figured out a way to solve some sustainability issue, they can share it with all these other schools. So there's kind of a lot that goes into the job, but I really like it because it means that every day is a little bit different. So I think one of the questions was, what's a normal day in my career look like? There is no normal day, which is what I love about it. I know it's not a great fit for everybody, but it does kind of depend on the time of year. So in the fall, a lot of times I'm working with teachers and students to do what's called a waste audit, which is where we sort trash from the school into different categories like plastic and glass and paper, food waste, and then we weigh it all to figure out kind of what's in their trash, and then working with them to develop projects. So a lot of my time in the fall is spent doing waste audits and teaching classes in schools. In the spring is when we do a lot of our Earth Day work. So Earth Day is a really busy time for us. We're pretty much busy all of April doing Earth Day events. So that means doing a lot of major events like St. Louis Earth Day, working with different organizations that want to put on Earth Day festivals and making sure that we have a table there, giving out information. But still, it's a lot of going into schools and teaching classes every day. And then during the summer, we do a lot of teacher professional development, which means I work with teachers teaching and sort of developing skills on how to teach different sustainability issues. Sometimes that's taking teachers on field trips to places like the recycling center or the landfill so they can see how stuff works there. Sometimes it's teaching about energy and how to use different tools to measure energy in a building and what energy is being used. And then we also run a day camp during the summer. So sometimes I'm also a camp counselor. So each day is a little bit different, sort of depending on the season. So it makes for very interesting work, and it means that nothing is ever really the same. And then there were some questions about schooling and training and sort of my career path. So I went to school or university. I got my undergraduate degree or my bachelor's degree in biology, um, really studying sort of ecology and evolution, but biology overall. And then I went on to get my master's in secondary education, which means teaching 6th through 12th graders chemistry and biology. So that's kind of what my schooling was for. And a lot of that was because in high school, I had spent time volunteering and working at the St. Louis Zoo at their day camp. And I really liked the idea of teaching people, and I was very interested in science. So that's kind of how I ended up choosing that. And then throughout college, I took opportunity of different work study jobs and internships to sort of figure out kind of what age group was going to work best. So, for example, my first year in school, I worked at a preschool, and I decided that maybe working with preschoolers wasn't really the best choice for me, but I got to try that out in college. I also worked in a sustainability lab where we turned old cooking oil into biodiesel. So I worked designing and building those reactors that would actually turn the fuel into, or turn the old oil into fuel. And then we had a vehicle that we'd drive around that was actually powered by the biodiesel we created. But then also part of my job was taking these room-sized reactors and bringing them down so they could fit on a cart so we could take them to schools, and then writing lessons with that. So that was really interesting work. I also picked up jobs working in schools on Saturday mornings doing mentoring and like ACT prep and college prep for high school students. I did a lot of work working with immigrant populations because I was going to school in Chicago. So teaching English as a second language. So all kinds of different things. So I just tried to get as many different opportunities as I could when I was in college. I tried a lot of things out. I did not love everything. And there were some things that I really connected with. I did do my student teaching, which is the process when you're in school. If you want to become a teacher, where you basically get put into a classroom and you teach for a semester. And I think during that time was when I decided that I wanted to do teaching, but not necessarily in a classroom. And after I finally graduated, I worked a little bit over the summer, and then ended up moving to South America for 6 months to work with a professor studying birds in the rainforest. So I spent about 6 months doing that, looking at invasive species. It was just a thing I had always been interested in, so I decided to do it right after college. So I ended up doing that, and then came back. I taught math for a year until I could get a job at the zoo. And I was able to work at the zoo, going into schools, working with animals. I eventually moved to the Endangered Wolf Center that's right outside of St. Louis, Missouri. And I got to do a lot of work there, doing similar things where I would go into schools and teach programs. I'd help with field trips. But then I also got to work with people who are doing conservation in the field with wolves and actually work with the wolves themselves, which was really great and really meaningful work. But after a while, I wanted to work on some larger sustainability issues, especially in schools, which is kind of how I came to my job at the garden. So I did a lot of different things getting to this position, and I can't say I loved all of them, but all of them were really great experiences to have to kind of teach me, how to deal with things that you don't necessarily like in your job, but also teaching me what I really loved. And making sure I knew what was important to me when I was looking for a job. So all of those were really great experiences to have, and kind of how I came to my job today. Some of the benefits of working in my field and sort of where I see it going over the next 10 years. I think one of the greatest things about working in my job, again, for me at least, is that the schedule is never really the same. Which is something that I personally enjoy because it means that each day is kind of a little bit different, and I like that variety, so that's a really nice thing about doing the work that I do. I think some of the other benefits is that it's something I really love and something I'm really interested in, and I know a lot of people find that in their job, but not everyone does. And it also, when I read the news or see things about climate change or, plastics in the ocean, I know that I'm making a really positive difference in issues like that, which I think is really important for me when it comes to my work, is that I'm doing something that's really meaningful and helping to make the world better. As cliched as that sounds, that makes it easier for me to get up and do my job every day. And then sort of the outlook over the next 10 years. I think we're going to be doing sustainability education work for a long time. This job that I'm in right now, in some form at some place in St. Louis, has probably existed for 30 or 40 years. So, I think over the next 10 years, we might be coming up with new tools for how to teach people about sustainability. Maybe we might look at topics that include waste, but maybe we'll be looking at energy more, because a lot of the places around St. Louis are really diving into how their buildings use energy. So we might end up doing a little bit more work for that. But I think that sort of being able to go into schools and teach and sort of have that expertise in sustainability is something we're going to be able to use for a pretty long time, and that schools are going to be looking for a while. And also universities and businesses and homeowners and just people who are interested in helping to make the world a cleaner place for everyone to live. So it's kind of how I see things going over the next 10 years. So that's a little bit about my job and kind of how I came to it and why I really love doing it. If you do have any other questions, let your teacher or school counselor know. And they have my email address, so they can contact me at the garden. Again, my name is Maggie McCoy. I'm the EarthWays Center Education and Volunteer Coordinator. And I'm so glad that I was able to speak to you guys today. Have a great day. Bye.